Okay, today's breakfast is sponsored by Ronnie and Rabbi Dr. Wallace Greene to commemorate the yahrzeit of Rabbi Greene's mother, Leah Bas Yeshaya HaKohen, Madeline Greene, whose yahrzeit is this coming Shabbos, the 24th of Shabbat. May her neshama have an aliyah. How do I get? I don't see myself here. You're on, right? Can you hear? I can't see myself. You're on. Are you sure? Positive. Can you hear?
We can hear. We just can't see him.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. I can't see him. So
Yeah,
what
because
I do?
1 second. You turned it and you did it.
We have the best tech specialists in Fairlawn. Okay, we got it. Okay, good morning, everybody. This morning's discussion is Ili Nishmas, my late mother. I just want to say one or two quick words about her. She didn't have much formal education. I don't think she finished high school, but she was a very well-read woman. And when she came to America, she pretty much taught herself English. And I remember seeing her reading all the time and writing down all the words she didn't understand to look up in a dictionary. She went from living on a farm, feeding geese and ducks, to living in a very fancy apartment on Riverside Drive when her stepfather was tapped by Arturo Toscanini to become the first violinist in the Philharmonic Orchestra. A very, very fancy lifestyle. And then unfortunately, my grandfather passed away from an infection from an ingrown toenail because penicillin hadn't been invented yet. Very sad. In any event, this is for her. A very smart lady, not necessarily in book learning, but in common sense. So talking about common sense, man is the pinnacle of creation. Man, if you follow even, you start from Bracious, from an evolutionary perspective, insects and fish and land animals, and man is the end of creation, the highest form of women, sorry, women are the highest, I stand corrected. Women are the highest form of creation. They were created last. However, does the creation of man on this planet where we're all living, does that exclude the possibility that there may have been or still are other worlds that may have been created by God? And for whatever reason, we are on this particular planet. Is there any contradiction in believing about the existence of other worlds and other creatures, extraterrestrials, if you will, humanoids, whatever you want to call them, or people just like us on other planets? Does that affect Jewish theology in any way? And how real might this possibility be? We are, on the one hand, the end of creation that we know of, but on the other hand, the universe is vast. The universe is infinite, and it's very difficult for man to envision the infinite. If you were to be on a spaceship, like those two astronauts that are stranded in space right now, and you see the immensity of the solar system, but you don't appreciate the fact that we are only one tiny speck in one series of constellations. We are part of the Milky Way. We are a small, small speck in the Milky Way. But there are millions, if not trillions, of other galaxies out there that we don't know about. We can't reach them. We send space craft, for decades traveling into space to send back They just keep on going until their batteries run out. That's what infinite means, there's no end. So it's certainly possible that somewhere out there in the vastness of the universe, there might be other planets with other sentient creatures, perhaps way, way advanced than ours. Is there any conflict in Jewish theology to believe in the fact that there might be other universes out there? Yeah.
There is probably none, but what makes you presume that if they exist, if anyone out there exists, that they have our senses, our intellect, and we can detect them? Maybe they're in such a way that we cannot detect them with all our science, and
absolutely
detect them. So
this is the great unknown. To get some answers, some understanding, we have to look at our sources. And you have some very cryptic sources in the Gemara and in the Zohar and in the Drushim about the possibility of other life elsewhere. I'll come to it in a moment. But I will say as follows. We are not necessarily alone in the universe. One of the areas, the Gemara Chagiga, the end of Chagiga, Mishnah in the Gemara that says us that one of the things that we really can't or we shouldn't delve into in great detail is creation. It's not for us to understand how God created the universe. Nevertheless, the Gemara and some sources do talk about we can't possibly understand how creation came into being, how God created the universe. The Rambam in Hilchos Deos and Amor Nevuchim comes closest for us to understand it by saying God is an intelligent force at work in the universe. Whatever that means, I'm not sure. But there are other intelligent forces of a lesser nature, which we call angels, for want of a better term, malachim. But there could be other intelligent forms, because the Gemara hints at the fact that as perfect as God is, God experimented. God experimented in creating worlds. And he may have created worlds that he didn't like, so he went on to create other worlds. Were these worlds destroyed or just discarded? There's no video to check on that. I don't know. The Gemara tells us, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Bora olamos umachriva. He created many worlds, then he destroyed them. He wasn't satisfied. Again, we are used to thinking of time in a finite way. So many years ago, it's certainly possible in God's time that he created worlds, he created people, and it didn't turn out the way he wanted. So he started all over again. Did he totally destroy them, or he just went someplace else? Don't know. Yeah.
Question, just as some people can think that, can't other people think that God did not create?
Absolutely.
Like Asmach people misdream and say, oh, God may have created different worlds, didn't like them, had Harata, destroyed them,
Yeah.
abandoned them, like based on what?
Well, this is based on Torah Shebaal Peh. There are a number of Gemaras that indicate that HaKadosh Baruch Hu may not have been satisfied with his initial attempts at creating what we have now.
So it's Rabbanim sitting around
Speculating,
and thinking.
which is why the Gemara says we should not speculate. Just enjoy what is, live in the present, and don't bother yourself with things that don't concern you, because it could lead you in terrible directions. I mean, there's a very famous Gemara, very, very famous, again, in Chagiga. Arba shenichnasu lepardes. 4 great rabbis entered into the garden, if you will, of philosophic speculation, Kabbalah, if you will, trying to understand the universe. 4 great rabbis, Ben Azai, Ben Zoma, Elisha ben Avuya, and Rabbi Akiva. And they tried to understand God. Very difficult to do. And it describes what the things that they saw. I won't go into that. One of them became insane. One became a heretic. One died. And the only one that came out shalem was Rabbi Akiva, because he had a firm grounding in rabbinic teaching and belief and so forth. Because it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous stuff when you start thinking about all the possibilities. My father, Oliver Sholem, always said to me, stay away from Kabbalah, because it can make you crazy. And we had a distant relative who had 2 brothers, 2 sons, rather, 2 sons. One became a world-famous Jewish philosopher. I'll mention his name. Very famous. Many books. I think he davened in Breuer's. Very brilliant man. His brother joined a group called the Malachim Society in Berlin, where they sat and said Tehillim all day and studied Kabbalah, and the guy literally went nuts. Many years later, I was helping a place in Williamsburg, a residence and a sheltered workshop for people who had serious problems. And who do I find working there assembling ballpoint pens? This Hasidic guy who had totally lost it because he was involved in this philosophical studies at a very young age, and it just took him off in the wrong direction. It's very dangerous, because sometimes you ask questions that cannot be answered. I'll give you an example of how we don't understand stuff sometimes. The common perception of why we say slichos early in the morning. Because it's an ace rotzon, Kadosh Baruch Hu is mekabelat filos, and some people try to jump the gun, like we do on Saturday night, week before Rosh Hashanah, and we say it at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's wrong. We should really say it early in the morning, not the crack at midnight, but should be much more. Why? The Gemara is very clear. The Gemara says, during all night long, what does the Kadosh Baruch Hu do? It's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah. He says the Kadosh Baruch Hu travels between 18,000 worlds, right? And he's busy all night long. And by the time he finishes traveling between 18,000 different universes, it's early in the morning before sunrise. And that's when you say slichos. That's the real reason. But again, people don't study the Gemara. I can't help that. So things emerge, and once it becomes a minhag, I say you spell minhag backwards, it becomes Gehenna. That's another story. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, what does it mean? He travels between 18,000 worlds. There are other universes, perhaps, out there. Logic, again, let's apply logic now. As I said in the beginning, we are one speck in one constellation in one galaxy, Milky Way. Okay, the universe is infinite. How big is infinite? Infinite. It just goes on, it doesn't stop. There could be other, let me backtrack. University of California did a computerized study a number of years ago to show that for all of the conditions to exist at the exact same time, temperature and chemical, all different things, for the first atom of life to be created spontaneously is mathematically impossible. There had to be a guiding intelligent force to create the first life, if you will, whatever life was. And it's not so simple either. I mean, everybody thinks, Adam and Chava were created the way people look today. The Gemara says they had tails. Imagine Adam and Chava with a tail. Maybe, again, I'm not talking about evolution to get involved in that discussion, but God can create whatever he wants to create. But it's not a simple thing. That's why the Gemara Chagiga tells us, don't get too involved and try to figure out how it happened. You're not going to figure it out. And it could lead you in many wrong directions. But theoretically, our universe, there could be other out there, other universes, way, way advanced. Our concept of time is very limited. 5,784 years. Could be millions of years. Could be other universes out there way, way advanced that developed on their own. Why they haven't communicated with us? Somebody gave a mashal, a fantastic mashal. Let's assume that there was a bunch of ants doing what ants do, making their anthill. And this anthill was located right next to a 10-lane superhighway. Cars going back and forth. The people in those cars zooming by on the highway, they don't even think about the anthill on the side. And the ants going about their daily tasks have no concept of the 10-lane highway right next to them. There's two totally different universes existing side by side. It does not in any way, shape, or form contradict our understanding or our belief in God and our theology. It perhaps expands it. It makes us think perhaps in different directions, but there's no contradiction. We are trying to understand this world in which we are living right now. That's hard enough to understand. Tzaddik Varalo, Rosh V'Tovlo, evil, good. I mean, there's enough to keep us busy understanding it without going beyond this world to figure out what about the little green man on another planet? What if there are intelligences way, way ahead of ours? Or perhaps more primitive ones that never evolved? These are questions to which we have no answers. But there is no contradiction. When we say in Kiddush every Friday night, Asher bara Elokim la'asos. How do we translate la'asos? What does that mean, la'asos? Well, Rashi tells us right away, la'asos is that man is a partner in creation. A man has to do his part to advance civilization and so forth and so on. But bara Elokim la'asos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu may still be creating. We don't know. We are limited to our little sphere of knowledge. But there's so much more out there. And we don't know what's out there. We have sent spacecraft into the galaxies. They haven't come back with any information yet. Maybe nobody wants to have anything to do with us. Maybe it's like the anthill and the superhighway. Again, I'm not even getting involved in the whole discussions of unidentified flying objects and all the reports. And by the way, those reports of UFOs are not just in the 20th century. They go back throughout history. People have noticed strange things. The crop circles are phony, that's been proved. But there are other things that could have happened that people are recorded to have seen. We know about meteorites, we know about things crashing. Superman mythology, all this type of stuff has been around for a long time. The possibility logically does exist. Definitively, I can't say that it does or it doesn't. I've never been to, what's that place in New Mexico, where they had the remains of a extraterrestrial, I forget what it is, what's it called, someplace in Mexico. Anyhow, there's supposedly a rocket ship crashed in New Mexico in 1948.
Area 51.
Area 51, is it? All right. Not in New Mexico, no? or maybe Nevada, whatever it is, somewhere in the Southwest. And the remains of an extraterrestrial there, and the government hushed it up and whatever. You know, I'm not getting involved in the X-Files, although it's a fascinating show. However, the possibility exists. Does it contradict anything that we know about a Kodesh Baruch Hu in Jewish theology? Absolutely not. We have enough to keep us busy in just learning what we have to learn. There are many Rishonim dealt with this because there could be other worlds that are created. Kodesh Baruch Hu could have done many things. There are 18,000 worlds, according to the Gemara Avodah Zarah. You know, very often we see things in the Gemara that predate modern scientific knowledge. I don't know where they came up with the number of 18,000 worlds that exist, that a Kodesh Baruch Hu visits every night. Chai. All right, could be a version of Chai. It could very well be. But you know, it would be interesting. Again, it would be fascinating at some point to find out if there are sentient beings way advanced someplace else out there in the galaxies, far out there. They observe Shabbos, they put on tefillin, were they given a Torah like we were? Or maybe a Kodesh Baruch Hu saw in that creation that it wasn't going to work out, and he left them and he came here. And then, and again, think about the story of Noah. Man didn't turn out the way God wanted to. So what do you want to do? Destroy it, start all over again. And then he promised Noah, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Whatever it is, do the best we can. We'll try as hard as we can. And hopefully it'll work out. I'm not going to destroy any more worlds. And as far as we know, Kadosh Baruch Hu kept his promise. We came very close a lot of times with many wars and pestilence, famine, and all kinds of other things, plagues. But we're still here. And our obligation is to do the best that we can in living up to the Torah that we have. Was the same Torah offered to others? You know, were the same mitzvos given to other people? Are the other worlds, if they exist, how far advanced are they? Do the people on those planets look like us? Does life on other planets have the same characteristics as our life does? Maybe yes, maybe no. Someday we may find out. But it does not, in any shape, manner, or form, contradict Jewish theology. Because we believe that a Kadosh Baruch Hu can do whatever he wants to do. He's all powerful. He selected this particular world. He gave us the Torah. Did he give the same Torah to others? I don't know. Probably not. Because for whatever reason, he left those worlds and he came here. But we don't know. Somebody in another galaxy far away could be having the same discussion that we're having now about this planet called Earth. What is it, the third planet from the sun? No, not from the sun. Yeah, oh, it's not the third planet. It's the seventh planet from the sun, I think. There are many, and other suns. There are definitely other galaxies, and there are other planets. Whether they're inhabited, so far we haven't come across it. We think there might be life on Mars, because if they discovered more, but that's only in our solar system. There are an infinite number of other solar systems out there, which could have better living conditions. Yeah.
I'm not into science anyway, but it just seems to me that in general and Jewishly, we have enough to deal with.
No question.
And I almost, for those who are interested in all this, kol hakavod, but like, who cares? We have so much to worry about just being a mensch daily and looking after ourselves and our family and our friends and trying to live a Torah-inspired life.
Absolutely.
It's like, I almost was like, give me a break. If there is another this or that, fine, isn't there? Hey, let them
Okay,
live,
so-
let them do whatever, but
Good point. It's
it's like, can't we just focus? There's so much wrong or lacking in our daily lives as we know it. How why people should care, you know, on a daily basis as they put the time and effort and thought into what may be.
100%. 100%. We have enough to do. No question about it. I don't disagree at all. I'm just raising it as an interesting possibility to think about. There are, as James Thurber used to say, there's a lot of things that go bump in the night that we don't understand.
Well,
And-
it's kind of fascinating. There is this whole universe. Right?
Yes.
And, like,
We are a
it's
tiny-
created by Hashem.
We are a tiny speck in that universe.
So, I mean, it is sort of fascinating. Entire universe. So either, but one thing I was thinking about though, when they say about this world, like maybe Hashem created this world and for like Torah, right? So that if we have that concept that Hashem creates the universe, then would it be that if there was anything else for it to exist too? And then how does that like?
I can't answer that. I would assume, I would hope, I don't know if I can hope. I assume, I only know what is, put it that way. I can't say definitively what I don't know about. Hashem gave us the Torah, and we created the world in which we live now. And as was properly pointed out, that's enough for us to do, keep us busy. However, it does not in any way negate the
This was
fact
upside down.
that
No,
does not,
my other doctor gave it to me, envelope, so I was looking for a little envelope. So I pulled all the pieces.
that does not negate the fact that there were logically other worlds that may have been created. Whether they also received the Torah, don't know. For whatever reason, again, there are two contradictory midrashim in the Gemara. One Gemara says HaKadosh Baruch Hu created worlds and then destroyed them because it didn't work out, for whatever reason, until he created this world in this galaxy. On the other hand, HaKadosh Baruch Hu visits 18,000 different worlds every night. So I don't know how to justify those two contradictory Gemaras. Maybe there are other worlds he created that he didn't destroy. Maybe there are other civilizations in far-off galaxies. I mean, it's difficult for us to do. It's very. Let me just end with this. There are two very difficult concepts to wrap our minds around. Number one, the whole notion of understanding what God is. Very difficult. God isn't some nice old man with a beard sitting on a throne. God isn't a person per se. God is an active intelligence at work in the universe. Is there a physical manifestation of that active intelligence? I doubt it. But I don't know. We haven't had the conversation. That's one difficult concept by itself that can occupy you for your entire life to try to figure that out. And I urge you to read Rambam Hilchos Deos. And if you want to be challenged, go into Mon Nevuchim a little bit. On the other hand, it does not necessarily contradict the fact that there might be other universes out there. There are other universes, but whether they have human habitation or non-human habitation or some type of life, because something that is infinite, we have no concept of infinity. Are there any mathematicians in the room? I'll give you a mathematical complication. Okay, mathematically, a line on a graph is made up of many, many dots. An infinite number of dots become a line. But the infinite number of dots, every dot is separated from the next dot and can't reach that dot. So if the dots can never reach each other, how do they form a line? mathematically on a graph. That's what we say for ease of mathematical calculations that it does. But the reality is different. In other words, it's difficult to us sometimes to grasp certain realities. The only point that I wanted to make is if there is intelligent life out there, and the possibility definitely exists, it in no way contradicts our belief in Jewish theology in terms of Hashem. We relate to Hashem in this world. Hashem relates to us in this world. That does not exclude the possibility that Hashem may relate to others in other worlds, in other universes. Just be aware that the creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is infinite. And it is impossible for us to grasp the notion of infinity because it's infinite. By definition, you can't possibly understand it. And this is why if you spend too much time thinking about it, you can go crazy. So let's function on this world, do our Torah that we got on Har Sinai in this world, do our mitzvos, do the best that we can in this world, and let HaKadosh Baruch Hu worry about the other worlds. But just be aware that in all probability, there is something else out there somewhere in the universe. Anyhow, it's something to think about. Have a great day. Stay warm out there. If you see any little green men, don't call me. All right. We have the Zoom? Okay, Rabbi Sign of Orech. Shamarok Davi Adalam, Bashus, called Subin Khan, Varek Shechal Mishalo, Rosh Chal Mishlo, Tvachayinu, Uno Selechem, the Choboso, Kilam Pasto, Mitiv Lakol, Michin Mazon, Chol Briosov, Asher Baro, Brochato Adonai Hazon Esako. Baruch Adonai al haaretz v'al hamazon. Uvenei Yerushalayim yer hakodesh meiro v'yameinu Baruch Adonai b'nei berachamo v'Yerushalayim amen. Ravachat Salav Yatzlacha Bracha Vishua Nechama Fanasma. Adov Mikotu V'Olam Hayachasreinu. Hello? Okay, good. Yeah, it went through. I saw it this morning.